up, Mike? Toronto. VK on the beat. Check. I'm in Toronto, where you wanna get the city love. I'm from Toronto, where you wanna get the city love. I'm in Toronto, like we wanna get the city love. My city love me back for my city love. I'm in Toronto.
Welcome to episode 1741 of Toronto Mic'd. Proudly brought to you by Great Lakes Brewery, a fiercely independent craft brewery who believes in supporting communities, good times, and brewing amazing beer. Like this Sunnyside Session IPA I'm about to crack with J-Ho. Order online for free local home delivery in the GTA. Palma Pasta. Enjoy the taste of fresh, homemade Italian pasta and entrees from Palma Pasta in Mississauga and Oakville. Toronto's Waterfront BIA. Check out what's happening on Toronto's waterfront this summer. Blue Sky Agency, the official distributor of Silent's quiet, comfortable, and customizable office pods. Create sanctuary within your workspace. Toronto Maple Leafs Baseball. Get your butts to Christie Pitts Saturday night, 7:30. Under the lights, the best baseball in the city outside the dome. RecycleMyElectronics.ca. Committing to our planet's future means properly recycling our electronics of the past. And Ridley Funeral Home, pillars of the community since 1921. Today, returning to Toronto Mic'd to discuss the 100-plus years, the history of Sunnyside. Yes, it's the official Toronto historian of the Toronto Mic'd podcast, Jeremy Hopkin.
Hey, good day, Mike.
Welcome, Jeremy. You're looking dapper as usual.
I was dressed up for the occasion with you guys.
How many pinstripe suits do you own? Is it always the same one, or do you have multiple?
I do have a couple. This one's the more special of the ones, and I tend to wear this the most, and I guess it's sort of become a brand identity as well. So it's getting a little rough around the edges. I've patched it multiple times, but
you need a seamstress to keep that in order. Yeah, you don't buy that off the rack, right? Like you can't walk into, I don't know, Moores and pick up a suit like that, can you?
No, not fitting this nice. Like this was actually custom made for me, so it fits in all the right places, and yeah.
All the right, that sounds like the tagline, fits in all the right places. This is Jeremy Hopkin, official Toronto historian of the Toronto Mic'd podcast. I'm playing a song. I'd say name that tune, but I don't think you're that good. Like that would blow my mind. But
seems right up my alley, though.
Well, this song was a big hit in 1925, so 100 years ago. You know, groovy. You weren't groovy in the 20s. What were you, swinging? What were you doing in the 20s? Roaring?
Oh, yeah, you were doing the Charleston. You were, roaring in the 20s, of course. And, yeah.
This is called the Riverboat Shuffle.
Oh, cool.
The artist is, I hope I say this name right, Isham Jones.
Oh, yeah.
In 100 years ago, so 1925. This would be a song you might hear at Sunnyside.
Definitely.
So before we start talking about Sunnyside, and again, I have to just preface this by saying, Jeremy, that us, average Joes and Janes, when we think Sunnyside, at least when I think Sunnyside, I think of the swimming pool.
Oh, yeah.
I bike by it almost every day. It's a big pool. It's right there at Sunnyside. I think, oh, Sunnyside, you're going to the pool. But as we'll learn in our discussion about the history of Sunnyside here in Toronto, it was much more than just a pool. Like the pool arrived 100 years ago, but there was already a happening at Sunnyside.
Definitely. Basically, Parkdale was a happening place for the well-to-do. Even earlier than that, in the 1800s, and by the 1890s, they were annexed by Toronto. Bathing along that beach was always very popular, but that time period, the waterfront started to get kind of gross, and people started noticing a lot of the industrial pollution and also the residential pollution, and there was a big call for them to clean it up. And they hatched this plan where basically the Toronto Harbour Commission was invented. And by 1917, in this area, they started dredging up the ground in the harbor, or in that area, and bringing the sand up from the bottom of the lake and basically infilling it so that they could have more of an area to play and have a proper beach and clean it up a lot.
Okay, so that's over 100 years ago.
Yeah, it started around 1917 in the filling, and then by 1922 is when you have the actual beach opening up, and there's a big festival. You have the bathing pavilion opening up, which is on this can of Sunnyside here. And 1922, it opens up. The tank opens up a little bit later because they realize, wow, this water's really cold. And so they created the heated pool. So, and that turned 100, not even a little more than a week ago.
So July 2025, the swimming pool, the Sunnyside pool, that turned 100 years young.
Yes. It had a big revitalization in the 1980s, and then that's when it got its new name of Gus Ryder.
You know, that's news to me that pool is called Gus Ryder Pool because there's a Gus Ryder pool here in New Toronto.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was a very famous, notable person, and I guess they felt his name could be spread around a little more than just the one pool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I believe Gus Ryder coached Marilyn Bell.
Yes, he did. He coached her and was a prominent figure in the area, and then she went on to also have things named in that area after her, too. Yeah, Marilyn Bell
so this
Park.
is all a good teaser here. I feel like I'm going to just set you up and you're going to take us on the journey.
Sure hope so.
Of course, we have to crack. I guess this was a long-winded intro to say we need to crack open our fresh cans of Sunnyside Session IPA from Great Lakes Brewery. That's
sure.
right. Like Sunnyside is the name of a popular summer beer brewed by Great Lakes Brewery.
Yeah.
So, Jeho, go ahead.
It's a tasty one. Ready?
3, 2. Woo. Okay, cheers to you, Jeho. I'm ready to learn.
Cheers.
And I know I have a lot to learn because of, I know the pavilion's there. It's beautiful. I've even we'll talk about it as we talk, but I even kayak on the other side and see it. And, the beach is there. And of course, the pool is there. It's still very, very popular, especially at this time of year. A lot of people in that pool. It's a great pool.
Yeah.
But I have so much to learn when it comes to, Sunnyside Amusement Park, for example, and all, the roller coaster and everything. So I don't want to pollute your process here. You're the historian. I will, though,
no worries.
Annoyingly have anecdotes or questions because I can't shut up, and it is Toronto mic'd, right? Jeremy, no, is it Toronto Jeremy or whatever? Then I'll try to bite my tongue more. But
right on.
I don't know where you want to start. I don't know how far back you want to go, but I need to learn everything there is to learn about the history of Sunnyside in Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
Well, we can go. First, I want to just mention this weird character that's on this can. His name, he actually has a name. It's Roland Baggots. I didn't know until I started looking into it, but one of the first times I saw this, I just had to buy it because it had the pavilion on it, and then I found out about this guy. They have him on quite a few of their products of when it involves the lake, because he's a fisherman. But here he's on vacation, sort of hanging out at Sunnyside.
So I produce the podcast from Great Lakes, which is called Between Two Fermenters. Mm-hmm. And we drop an ad in there during the summer, which is the character Roland, what's his name? Roland Baggins?
Roland Baggots.
Baggots. Yeah. It's him basically talking about, about himself and what he's up to. And it's a little ad for Sunnyside Session IPA, which, as you said earlier, is very tasty.
Oh, yes. And it kind of reminds me of my dad when he used to do an impression of, an old sailor talking to Billy at the sea, and he sounds like that.
Or like the Simpsons sea captain.
Yeah, yes, definitely.
Arr, I hate the sea and everything in it.
So with the history of Sunnyside, we can go way, way back and talk about geology and all that kind of stuff, I guess. But I don't want to go too far back.
You're going back to the Big Bang Theory? Is that where we're going?
Not that far back, but, glaciers recede. That's basically the first part of the history that you hear about anything in Toronto. You have Lake Iroquois, which basically, where Casa Loma sits on top of. That used to be the shore of a massive lake. So basically everything downtown was underwater, including Sunnyside. Waters recede, and there's a large indigenous history in this area where it part of the traditional territories of the First Nations, including the Wendat and the Mississauga, all in that area. Eventually, it becomes a vital part of the Carrying Place Trail. So that's sort of like the beginning place where you would portage and also bring your canoes up and hunt, fish, trade. And so it has a large history even before it becomes Sunnyside and before Eastern or the European people come here and do their thing.
So I recently very recently, like last Friday, I got a tour of the Toronto Islands.
Oh, cool.
from Professor Pricklethorn.
Yes, I was on the live stream for that one. He's an interesting guy.
So he's got another name, apparently. It's not just Professor Pricklethorn. His name's Warren Hosselton. And Warren has these island tours. They're walking tours, but you at the Captain John's Pier, you get on a water taxi and you go to Ward's Island, and it was an absolutely fantastic tour. And of course, it always starts by telling you back in the day, like not even that far back, but the waterfront was Front Street.
Yes.
So in downtown Toronto, like, it was called Front Street because it was literally the front street, right? That's the street where the water went up to, and then we filled it in, and so in the area that like the Parkdale, Roncy, Swansea neighborhoods, just south of there, what do you know? What where the lake would go up to?
Well, the natural shoreline, you can still kind of see it, and actually prominently at Parkdale, right where Queen and King and Roncesvalles come together. There's a bit of a bluff right there, and that's the original shoreline right there.
Isn't that amazing?
So everything, I found it amazing too. Like, it's just everything we're on south of there it was in the lake before. And so there was a huge project. They put in so much infill to get that to happen. A lot of it was first motivated by the railways coming through, even like the Great Western Railway very early on. But eventually they found more and more need to have that at that lake level.
But who made this? Like, I'm just thinking of how difficult it is to get like new transit opened up and to get anything done in the city. Like, who made the call? Yeah, we're gonna like move the waterfront. How many 100 meters south? Like the fact that not only you make the plan, you agree. Okay, now we're gonna have a new waterfront, and then you do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was motivated a lot by the people to form that commission, the Toronto Harbour Commission, and then from there, the Toronto Harbour Commission did things that today we wouldn't accept, like filling in marshlands.
That now I remember. That's why you can build a building in some parts of the world. You can build them so quickly because you don't have to adhere to the same codes and safety standards.
For sure, yeah. And we didn't have those back then. So they've happened quickly. And a lot of times, environments were devastated, but it also brought about some change that was needed, I guess. So, I guess you could say it was kind of the people at that time, they saw swamplands as being disease causing and disease ridden. Mosquitoes were spreading disease, and they just wanted it gone. So a lot of that, they didn't understand quite the intricacies of a lot of the environment. So it just happened very quickly.
Okay, so we basically build a new waterfront.
Yeah, it's very close to. I find a lot of parallels with Ontario Place. They wanted this place for amusement and also to improve the waterfront, and ended up filling a bunch in, and it has a lot of similarities also with the government later coming along and destroying the whole thing to a point. It's a bittersweet history with Sunnyside.
Okay, so basically they have a plan for this area, and I guess
this was all through the Toronto Harbour Commission that the government had created.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Very interesting. So the Harbor Commission, where do they go? By the way, I was trying to figure out what's left today, because we're going to talk about what it was. Oh yes. And we're going to get a sense of what our grandparents were up to in this area. But as far as I can tell, there's 3 things left. And tell me if I'm wrong. And we'll get to this at the end as well. Yeah. But if you were to do a bike ride on the Martin Goodman Trail, or just get your way to the waterfront in this western part of the city that we're talking about, kind of, I would say, it's kind of near from Humber to Jameson Avenue or whatever. Right. You can still see there, active today, of course, there's the Sunnyside Pavilion is still there. Yes. And there's a restaurant there and a beach, of course. There is the swimming pool, which we'll talk about, and you can go swim in it today if you like. And still from this era is the Palais Royal. Yes. It started off as Dean's Pavilion, or Dean's boating, Sunnyside pleasure boats. So you could rent boats and go out on the water in the bottom part of it, and you can still see there today if you go down to into the basement of the Palais Royal. There's bays where they would have had all the boats, and then later on they added a restaurant up top, which quickly became a dance hall, and then that became famous as a dance hall from there on. I once had a CD that was called 4 Nights at the Palais Royal. It was Sloan. Was Sloan performing back then 100 years ago at the Palais Royal?
No, but I do remember them coming there in the 90s, along with a bunch
In
of
the
other
90s.
bands. It went through a few hands over the years and miraculously survived. There was a plan in the 60s to actually rip it down. But then it got designated by the city all of a sudden in the 1970s, and it saved it.
Well, that should have been on our list of buildings we almost destroyed but didn't.
Yes, that's one of them, definitely.
One of my favorite Jeremy Hopkin episodes of Toronto Mike Care. Okay, by the way, the name it was called Dean's Boathouse.
Yeah, Dean used to have a boathouse closer to the Humber, like right on the mouth of the Humber at the bottom, and was very popular, and then eventually moved into that. And after a while, it went out of business, and it just became the Palais Royal completely all over. Yeah.
Okay, so back in the beginning, when the Harbor Commission, I guess they leased this land or whatever, we're calling it Sunnyside. Good name for a beachfront area, Sunnyside. Does it begin? Tell me, does it begin with the amusement park? I think it'll be fascinating if we learn about the Sunnyside amusement park.
Okay.
Well, and if you have a different order, please don't let me pollute your process here.
Well, you were talking about the name Sunnyside. That comes from one of the first city surveyors, John Howard. He had a Sunnyside villa.
Oh, the High Park guy.
Yeah. He had another villa, a villa that doesn't exist anymore. That was right on top of the hill where St. Joe's is today. And they actually had that building for a while, but eventually tore it down when they did additions. So they got the name because that was his that villa estate. They got it from there, and it just sprung from that, I guess. You were saying about some of the buildings that are left over.
Yeah, please.
There is also the Parkdale Canoe Club, which is now the Boulevard Club.
Yes.
And when that was built, it was out on stilts in the middle of the water, and then eventually they built the land out to it. And so those stilts are probably still under that building today.
But the Boulevard Club must have been rebuilt, I suppose. It looks too modern, no?
Well, it's the older part is right in the middle of it, so there's a lot of newer stuff around it.
Also, that's for very rich people, Jeremy. They don't let me in the Boulevard Club.
they probably wouldn't let me either. But if I was dressed like this, maybe I could sneak in one day, and they'll find me out pretty quick.
Well, they'd assume you were hired as a performer of some sort.
Maybe.
I bet you could get into anything dressed like that.
It helps if you got the confidence and you go in like this, and people, I guess it just kind of bewilders people for a while. Like, what the heck is this guy doing in a 3-piece suit on a hot day like this?
If he's wearing that on a day like this, wearing that hat and that outfit, clearly he belongs here.
I'd hope so. Yeah. And usually I can talk about the place and make them think I do.
So is this, and again, we don't ever chat, like we don't have like, let's go this way, let's go that way. I do a little homework, but mainly I come here to learn. But
for sure.
Is that an appropriate place to dive into some of the details, Sunnyside Amusement Park, or is there a better way to get there?
Well, to get there, let's see. Well, we got it filling in and everything, and John Howard we mentioned. But as far as the amusement park goes, it was a Toronto Harbor Commission plan as well. They planned out everything. They wanted to have basically the bathing pavilion there with change rooms and showers.
And that's the pavilion we see today.
Yes, the Sunnyside Pavilion. There was another place called the Pavilion Restaurant that was closer up on the shore that later became Club Top Hat. And one thing that they were trying to do in this place in Sunnyside was it wasn't just a place to go and ride rides. There was restaurants, there was dance halls, there was games of chance, there was a merry-go-round that was very famous and people loved. Later on, they added another merry-go-round, and it kind of evolved over the years. They added more attractions as the years went by. They added a roller coaster called the Sunnyside Flyer, just like sort of the Flyer at the CNE. And it was very similar in construction. So you could kind of go there, and for not a lot of money, you could ride all these rides and have a good time, listen to music, and a lot of the newest refreshments were out there too. Like some of the earliest instances of like Orange Crush or Hires being in available in refreshment stands were all out there.
So this basically, if you're a young person in the 20s,
yes,
the place in Toronto to go is Sunnyside.
Yes, besides the CNE, but that's only a narrow part of the year. This was a little bit longer. You could go swimming there. They had the Toronto Railway Company, before the TTC came along, actually offered free bathing cars to a lot of the kids in the city. So if you didn't have any money and you wanted to go bathe, you got a free ride downtown, and you could go swim on the beach for free and come back.
Okay, so they had a place to change, like get into your bathing attire. That's the pavilion there. You had the beach.
Mhm.
You had, it sounds like an amusement park is growing here. Like there's rides.
Yes.
There's like nightclubs and band shells.
Oh, for sure. Just it was a rocking place, and just everyone wanted to go to this place. And because cars were becoming more and more popular, a lot of people come from far away, bring their cars there, and experience this place.
Okay, so remind me, when does the Gardner open up?
Gardner is 1955, I believe, that section.
Okay.
And sadly, I had to drive over the gravesite of Sunnyside on the way here. I went on the Gardner on the way here, and I was just thinking about it and going, oh, man, it'd be so cool to check this place out.
Have you been to the Lucky Lion?
Yes, I've been to the Lucky Lion, taken photos all around it, and it was relocated from the mouth of the Queenie.
Yeah, that's, I guess, Elizabeth I.
Yes.
I guess. But it's sort of a bit of a hidden treasure, the Lucky Lion, because although you can see the top of it, like from the Humber Bay Bridge, for example, you can see the top of this thing. I don't think many people know, because you have to go off the actual Martin Goodman Trail and you go like a titch north, like near the dog walking park. And there's this part that nobody goes to kind of discover the Lucky Lion is just kind of hanging out there. Yeah,
the tree growth has really increased in there, so it does hide a lot of it from the highway. I noticed that today. I couldn't even really see the bathing pavilion because of all the trees.
Okay, so we'll get back to this Gardner. It doesn't come till the 50s here. Okay, so we're still in the 1920s.
We're foreshadowing dark times.
Dark times ahead here. Dark times ahead. It's all the car's fault. If everybody just biked everywhere, we wouldn't have these problems. Yep. So, are there any other buildings we should discuss? I know it's 100 years that we built the actual swimming pool, so we can get to that too.
Parkdale was the important place at the beginning, but when a lot of people started flocking to this place, they opened up a Sunnyside railway station at the top of the hill, right where Roncesvalles Queen and King Street meet. And I remember for years there was remnants of that station that had been long torn down before I could recall that it was even there, where if you looked along the hill, you could actually see this little archway door there was just nothing there behind it. And that was the old freight elevator for that railway station. And from Roncesvalles...
There's a McDonald's there now.
Yeah, the McDonald's is just on the other corner.
On the other corner. Because, you keep naming the 3 streets that meet, but 4 streets meet there, Jeremy Hopkin.
Oh, right. It's Queensway, I guess? Yeah.
That's where Queensway basically starts if you're heading west. So only because I take that Ronces Bridge over on my bike. I did it yesterday when I went to the Paradise Theater to see a Rio Statics Great Lakes album. They have a new album coming out with these improvised pieces of music with guest Alex Lifeson. The Rio Statics created this music with Kevin Hearn, and it's all kind of inspired by the Great Lakes, and I just felt it's all kind of tying together here.
Oh, very cool.
My favorite Great Lake, though, is Lake Ontario. Because I can kayak on it anytime I want here. Okay, so the 4 streets that meet, though, but I always thought that I don't know any other part of the city where 4 streets meet in the same spot. But you got Ronces is kind of going kind of north there, and you got Queensway going kind of west there, and then you got that 2 options, if you will, to go east, which is you could take King Street, which is to the south, or Queen Street, which is to the north. But there's a lot happening at that intersection.
Well, at one time there was the Queensway. Well, there was a bridge right at the foot of that you could go across, and then that would sort of turn and then go into Sunnyside. That was another entranceway to get into there. And you have the streetcar yards right there too. Streetcars would come into Sunnyside from there. They had a Sunnyside loop at one point, and some of the connections, Parkdale was very connected to that area. And I'm just trying to think. The McDonald's actually was a gray coach. For years, where that was a bus terminal. You get the bus out of there.
Well, unless we forget, you're very close, of course, to St. Joseph's, birthplace of Toronto Mike. Okay, let's not bury the lead, Jeremy.
I found your birth notice in the paper when your 50th came up.
Oh my goodness gracious! It did happen, everybody.
That was neat.
All right, so.
But did you? I don't know, wherever you would like to go with this.
Well,
but
maybe
I
you
can go
lead
as
the
well.
way. You lead the way because you got the brain full of all the info, and I'm just excited because like today at this the foot of Ellis, if you will. Here now, you have that Joy Oil gas station that has like a fence around it. So we've talked about this in the past, but it has been preserved. They moved it because it was at I feel like it was at Windermere and Lakeshore or something like that.
It was right there on the corner, the northwest corner.
Yeah, and now it's at the, kind of the foot of Ellis here by the waterfront. And by the way, later in the program, I'll shout out some events happening a little bit like east of where we're talking about. The Waterfront BIA are sponsoring this program, and I'm going to shout out an upcoming event at Harborfront, but we're still a little west of there in the Sunnyside region.
Mm-hmm. I guess one other thing I did want to mention about the amusement park, besides the amusement park features, they also did some odd things there too, and strange contests. They had dancing contests. You're probably familiar with, like, in the 1920s, or no, in the 1930s, they had those dance contests where people would almost pass out because they're trying to win money.
Right.
And it's the heat of the Depression. But at this time, it's the 20s. Everything's going pretty good before the crash happens. So they had contests like that. But then they'd have weird ones that they thought would appeal to the college crowd, like the greasy pole contest, which I'm not exactly sure how that worked. I think it's
probably like a big rope that they grease, right? So you can't get a grip.
Try to hold on as long as you can, I guess. Okay. Yeah. And they also had some weird features too, where I guess pyromaniacs would be fascinated at this, so it would be very attractive to them to watch boats burn. So anytime a boat was decommissioned from the Toronto, the ferry service, they got this great idea. Hey, let's buy it up and we'll burn it. And so a ferry called the John Hanlon, Jasmine, Clark Brothers, Julia B. Merrill, which was a lake schooner, and another schooner called the Lyman Davis. They burned all of those between 1929 and 1934 down on the lakeshore there. And people would just marvel at it. Some of them they actually torpedoed, some of them they put fireworks on. But this one that came up, the Lyman M. Davis, people were actually protesting it getting burned because they thought it was it was one of the last schooners on the lake from the old days. It was built in 1873. So a lot of people were against it. They eventually identified that it was just a freighter, had no importance to, old wars or anything like that. So it eventually burned, and it got set adrift and sort of came crashing down in the bottom of the lake right near the mouth of the Humber. So when you're in your kayak coming out of the mouth of the Humber, you're probably floating right over the remnants of that old ship.
Yeah. I heard there's like 10,000 ships at the bottom of the Great Lakes.
Oh yes, there's so many, and they're in such good preservation because there's barely any oxygen down where they are with a lot of them. Some of them aren't so far down and they rot away, but yeah, there's a lot of great shipwrecks and people diving on them because of that.
I would love to get down there and take a peek at some of this, because all I can see is this like rusty old shopping cart. That's all I see.
Well, this one's pretty far down. You probably wouldn't be able to see it, but unless you went diving.
And by the way, as you talk about this burning ship thing, of course, this is an era where before television, of course, it's like this would be entertaining. I mean, it would be entertaining today, to be quite honest. I think I'd make my way to Sunnyside to check it out. But we should have done that with Captain John's.
Oh, that would have been a nicer send-off than just sending it to the scrapper like it went.
They got like a towboat towing it away or whatever, and it gets broken up or whatever. But imagine we all got to collect at the foot of 1 Yonge Street, watch Captain John's restaurant ablaze. Yep. That would have been amazing.
And that's kind of one way they talked about it in the newspapers of the day. They were like, just basically giving it a Viking funeral. Like, it's going out in a blaze of glory.
Blazing. And, as I learned from my tour of the Toronto Islands, most things just burn down on that island. I guess everything's wood or whatever. And it's like, you'll hear about, this is where this was. And, it burned down a few years ago. And it was like, this way, it burned down 20 years. Like, everything burns. Okay. Can I ask you about something specific? Because you mentioned earlier, what do you know about the Sunnyside Flyer? Because there's a quote. There's an advertisement where they're talking about the Sunnyside Flyer, which of course was at Sunnyside Amusement Park back in the 20s. I guess this opened in 1923. And the quote is, "Dippiest dips on the continent." Okay, so this sounds like, for the time, of course, 1923, this was maybe the biggest roller coaster on the continent.
It definitely could have been, because I don't think there was anything larger than that anywhere else.
Take that, America.
Yeah. And we did have some of the largest before anybody else did, including the pool. That was apparently the largest in North America at the time that it was built in 1925. And I haven't found exact proof of that, but it seems to hold up.
I heard it could possibly have been the largest swimming pool in the world.
Oh, very cool. That would be amazing.
Print the legend, okay? Print the legend. Okay, we'll get back to the pool, but just again, it's hard to imagine today. Here we are talking in 2025, and I've been very familiar with this area for at least 4+ decades now. But at Sunnyside, okay, so we're not talking about Ontario Place, we're not talking about the CNE, Canadian National Exhibition, but I was checking out, okay, what kind of rides they have there. I mean, they had a ride called the Looper.
Yeah.
They had bumper cars they called Gadabout.
Oh, yeah.
They had a fun house called Funland. They had this ride called Flying Scooters. We talked about the Flyer, which might have been the biggest roller coaster on the continent. They had an indoor horse racing carousel they called Derby Racer.
Yeah, the Derby Racer was a pretty cool one.
Okay, well, what more do you know about that?
It eventually they took that after Sunnyside was dissolved. They took that to the CNE, and it remained there for a few years, but got vandalized, so it eventually was destroyed. But it had this mechanism inside of it where you could ride these horses inside of a merry-go-round, except they actually competed with each other. So you could technically place a bet on these horses, and
I'm sure Peter Gross was making bets back in the 20s on these horses.
Maybe.
Don't you worry.
So yeah, you could technically do that, and I think eventually that led to it being changed. But I think even then in the 50s, like I have spoke to people that even remember that being at the CNE later on, and it was a pretty cool invention that they did this with a regular merry-go-round. You didn't think there was really anything like that.
No, and there was something called the Whip.
Yeah, the whip is just it's hard to explain. You just kind of whip around, and a lot like those the guys that shout at you, you want to go fast.
Polar Express,
something like the Polar Express, but a lot more rudimentary. Just plain.
I worked a game booth right across the midway from the Polar Express all day long for 20 days every summer.
So that
Polar
is
Express
burned in your head then.
Well, and I shared this on the blog back in the day before the podcast, but every night when they were closing up, they played Louis Armstrong's What a Wonderful World. And it did add this like serene kind of moment where you're done.
Yep.
The park is closed. You're now doing your packing up of your big booth or whatever, and then you just hear Louis Armstrong, "What a Wonderful World" blaring. It just had this peaceful moment. It just was really nice on a summer night in August and early September to have that moment. And we had that 20 nights every summer.
Very nice.
There were, I won't go through them all, but I mean, there was something called the Moon Rocket.
Yeah.
If you know more, I mean, I literally just have a list here. But
a lot of these, the ones that you're mentioning, I did put a list together.
Oh yeah, okay, take over, buddy.
If I can find that here.
You're the official Toronto historian. I just know enough to be dangerous.
But yeah, they had you've actually mentioned them all. There you go. But the merry-go-round, I guess we haven't really got onto the demolition side, but we've already talked about that happening. But the first merry-go-round that was there, when Sunnyside was being dissolved, I guess they'd started selling off things to people, and the Disney company became interested in this merry-go-round, the Sunnyside merry-go-round, and they ended up buying it and taking it to Disneyland. And you can still ride it today as King Arthur's Carousel.
That's a fun fact.
So that some parts of Sunnyside still exist like that.
Okay, now here's that's by the way that's I'd say that's more than a fun fact. I think that's a mind blow.
And I was great. I'm glad you find that a mind blow.
I expect at least 2 to 3 from you every quarter.
I'm trying. So I actually just recently at one of the car shows that I've gone to talked to somebody that worked for Disney back in the day, and she used to do cell painting and that kind of thing for animation.
Sure.
And she said to me when I said to her, "Oh, do you know anything about the Sunnyside carousel? Like, did you have anything to do with it when you were here?" And she goes, "Oh no, but I don't think I don't think Disney would have done it. I think her brother Roy would have been the guy to do that because he was more of the business guy.
One guy was the business guy, one guy was the creative guy.
So I think it may have been Roy that came up here and bought it and brought it over there.
And I think the name, if I'm correct, the name when it was at Sunnyside Amusement Park in the 20s was the Menagerie Merry-Go-Round. Am I right?
Yeah, it had a couple names. Some people just called it the Sunnyside Merry-Go-Round, but yeah, the Menagerie Merry-Go-Round, I've seen that before as well. A lot of the rides, I think the enclosures were designed as well by the company that made, I didn't mention that earlier, the company that made the bathing pavilion in sort of that neoclassical looking style.
Wait, the one on my can of Sunnyside Session IPA?
On this can right here.
Okay.
Exactly. That was designed by Chapman, Oxley, and Bishop. And they ended up designing a lot of the refreshment booths and all that, all the other stuff that was there. But everything else that was on the Midway and the Carnival was built out of wood. But the bathing pavilion and parts of the Palais Royal, which they also designed, were a little more permanent built. So they endured a lot more than the other structures did.
Oh, clearly, because we can go see them today.
Yeah, they've had to fix them up, and they're stucco buildings, so they do need maintenance over the few years, but they've held up pretty well. There
was something, and you're going to tell me what it was, hopefully, but I'm dying to know, because it was called Lovers Express. Like, what exactly was, were my grandparents making out at something called Lovers Express in the 20s?
No, you caught me on that one. I don't know about the Lovers Express.
Lovers Express. So we're going to find out more about Sunnyside.
From what I'm thinking, maybe it would be like one of those trains where you go into the dark areas and then you come back out and you can, maybe kiss on your way in.
Okay, I bet you there was a lot of kissing going on at how many of us are here today because of a good time at Sunnyside back in the 20s?
And it was a good time, but with Prohibition on, they weren't allowed to sell booze. But I have seen some signs mentioning ale in a couple of the photos that I've seen. So I'm wondering if maybe they had something that was de-alcoholized or just had that name. But even with the Toronto Sunday laws, the strict Sunday laws, it was closed every Sunday. You think that would be a prime day for them to get business, but it was closed. But a lot of people still would go there just to do a walk after church, or just a nice Sunday walk with family, and they'd get all dressed up in their Sunday best. So you see a lot of these photos where people are all dressed up in very nice suits walking down there. They'd also have an Easter promenade where they would just specifically just go out in all their best clothing and just rock it. So a lot of reporters would go along there and take their photos. You see tons of photos from the globe of those events happening.
Back then, essentially, if you were going anywhere in public, you dressed up. Am I right? Because whenever you see pictures from Maple Leaf Gardens in the 30s or 40s, like everybody's dressed up kind of like you are now. But was that just the common practice? I mean, I think I know the answer, but if you're going in public, you're dressing to the T's. You're going to dress up.
Yeah, especially on days like that, on the Sundays, you would. But everybody, even workwear, just kind of looked more dressy. Everybody had collared shirts and vests and you name it. Even their leisure costumes earlier on in the 20s, people were a lot more conservative. So you see even some of the bathing suits, they're like a full head-to-toe bathing suit. But as the years progressed and the flappers came into style, that diminished. And and
heart attacks rose.
Yes, some flights.
Shout out to St. Joe's.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm gonna do a little just a recap here. So you've got this Harbor Commission. Mm-hmm. They construct Sunnyside Amusement Park. I believe it opens in 1922, so just a bit over 100 years ago. This is a very popular destination particularly for young people in the city of Toronto, because there's rides. We're talking about a lot of this already, but there's nightclubs, there's outdoor band shells. You talked about Dean's Boathouse becoming the Palais Royal. I'm all choked up here. The Palais Royal nightclub. You've got a pool that comes into play. Like, maybe let's focus a little bit on the pool and then talk about some of the events and things that would draw people to this area. But what is it that they just thought the ocean? I almost called it the ocean. And I feel like I'm Gord Downey now. You're not the ocean. You're just the Lake Ontario. Yeah. But
that's why they made the killer whale tank.
Yeah. Well, that's what they called the pool, the tank. You know that?
Yeah. It had a few nicknames over the years. The tank was one of the big ones. And that really worked in with this Tank 10
Yeah.
beer. Yeah.
Okay, we bring back the name The Tank. I like that name. Let's see at the Tank, we'll say.
Tank.
Okay. But is it the lake was too cold or too dirty? Like when you have this lake and this beach, very popular beach and waterfront there, why do you need a pool?
Yeah, I think the main issue was the cold. A lot of people did complain about how
Bunch
cold
of
it was.
wussies, Jeremy, honestly.
But there was some pollution back then, quite a bit in the water that you wouldn't even find today. That I'm sure wouldn't be pleasant to swim in. But I think
But you would have found it in the 80s.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I believe the main issue was the cold.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they basically decide let's not just build a pool here.
Yeah,
Let's make it the biggest pool in the world.
They made it the biggest, and it's actually heated, which was a huge thing to do back in the 20s. A huge expenditure to have that happen. And I think even from the beginning, they had swimming classes there. Eventually, people like Gus Ryder came along, and it just became a place for a lot of the people to meet and go swim.
And if you're looking for a good ship burning, you know where to go. You
Yeah.
talked about all those ship burnings.
Yes. And one thing I hear people say a lot about this pool right off the bat with seeing it is like, that would have been a nightmare to be a lifeguard there. But I actually also spoke to lifeguards that had been there, and they loved it. They thought it was a great place to go. Unfortunately, there were a couple drownings over the years that happened in there because of overcrowding. But overall, it's had a very good record.
Well, I was hearing a piece, I think when they opened it up, they had 20,000 people, or I don't know what the number was, something enormous like that, where, they just had to keep them outside. You can't fit 20,000 in that pool, no matter how big it is.
Yeah, it's like a new ride at Canada's Wonderland. You got an hour and a half wait to get in to even enjoy it.
Right, but at least this is a free event.
Yeah.
Okay, so I keep talking about the 20s because it opened in the 20s, but of course Sunnyside wasn't just a popular destination for young people in this city in the 20s, right?
Yeah.
Like it's very popular in the 30s and 40s into the 50s.
Yeah, with the end of let's see, well, all throughout the 30s it was popular. World War I happens, and a lot of people flocked to there during the war and after the war. And I know even my grandparents, they had a lot of stories about going to this place and having dates there and listening to big bands that went through. There was a lot of notable big bands that went through all of the venues there, including the Top Hat, the Palais Royal, Palace Pier, a little further west down the Humber. And it was just very popular right up until, I guess, the cars started to travel a little further, and then they became a little more reliable. So this was it was a cool place to go and hang out, but a lot of people were going a lot further away. So it got a little bit neglected towards the 50s, where the boardwalk was starting to get tattered, and the buildings, they ended up having fires every once in a while, to the point where people just thought of this place as being yesterday's news, and maybe we need something different. And kind of like how Ontario Place went, where a little bit of demolition by neglect. And but yeah, all throughout the 30s and the 40s, immensely popular place.
So I guess in the mid 50s, the Toronto Harbor Commission just says time to do something else.
Well, they didn't necessarily say it. I think that all forms of government kind of came together.
But they did cancel all land leases in the area.
Oh yes, they did that. That
I
is
mean,
one thing.
That is something
Yes.
they did.
So yeah, they eventually did do that, and there was plans, big plans for because of the influence of the car, to have a new fast highway come through, and that kind of spelled the end of the days of Sunnyside.
And that's where some guy named Fred Gardner.
Yes, they named it after him.
We're cursing his name to this very day.
Big Daddy Gardner, yes.
You were cursing his name earlier today. I know you were. Come on. And even in that nice hat, you're cursing out Gardner in the traffic jam there.
Yeah.
So when they do decide that they're going to connect the QEW to downtown Toronto, which is what we now know as the Gardner Expressway, does that mean they have to basically demolish the amusement park in order to put the highway through?
Yes, it went pretty fast because it was all wood. It didn't take very much time for
some guy just walked by and threw a match.
Well, some guys did throw a match. Quite a few of the concessions did burn even before they got a chance to bulldoze. So yeah, a lot of that did happen. And
they were like, good, that saves us some time and money.
Yeah, you kind of think sometimes, yeah, there's that heritage lightning that comes through and burns down old buildings.
Okay, well, there's some terms for that. Okay, so basically, this era we're talking about is a good 30-year run, basically, from like the early to mid-20s, and it kind of is all done by the mid-50s. But I guess because of where they're located and the way they were built, they were able to say, okay, don't demolish the Palais Royal, because Sloane's going to go there in the 90s.
Exactly. Yeah, they sent one of the members of Sloan back in time to tell them to not
Which
do that.
Which member was it? I have my theories. Was it Andrew Scott? I feel like he's the one going back.
Well, you've interviewed them all now, right? So
they've all been over.
You probably know the time traveling one, right?
I think it was Andrew Scott.
Oh, okay.
That's my sense anyways.
Cool.
Control your dogs, America.
And even speaking of fire, the Palais Royal did have a couple substantial fires. I even remember in the 90s, one of the first places that I ever tried, even attempted this old school dancing was the Palais Royal back in the 90s. And I brought a girlfriend there, and we tried our best to dance like the people are dancing there, but they were all pros. And so we quickly got pushed to the side. And but I remember not too long after that. But yeah, daydreaming even back then of like what it used to be.
Describe, so you guys weren't pros and you got pushed to the side. Well, that is what happened though at Electric Circus, okay? Yeah. When they launched Electric Circus, regular people at clubs, like regular people, because I knew one, shout out to War and Peace, they would be there dancing, okay? And then there was a moment, or I don't know if it was a specific moment or over a stretch of time, where they weeded out these schlubby looking regular folk like you and I. Yep. And suddenly it was like, we'll call essentially pro, but like the beautiful, great dancers were like tapped on the shoulder and said, no, you're on TV for Electric Circus. So same thing happened to you, happened to Cowboy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's just, it was more of a voluntary push out for us. And we just kind of went, oh my God. And we got scared we were going to get run over. So we kind of just purposely went off to the side. But yeah, that would happen at Electric Circus quite a bit.
May I revisit a name we dropped earlier?
For sure.
She was only 16 years old, okay? I need to give it this context. It's amazing to think. And she's still alive today.
Oh, wow.
And that happens when you're so young in the 50s, okay? You can still be alive today. But Marilyn Bell, who is a Lakeshore legend, they have a mural honoring her. And I've already talked enough about Gus Ryder, who eventually the tank would be named after Gus Ryder. And there's also a pool nearby here in New Toronto named Gus Ryder Pool. Gus Ryder was training Marilyn Bell and a guy named Cliff Lumsden. Did you know Cliff Lumsden was buried at Ridley Funeral Home?
No, you did mention though something about it before.
It came up because I learned that from Brad Jones on an episode of Life's Undertaking, which is a great podcast you should listen to by Ridley Funeral Home. And these are Lakeshore legends, so they live near Ridley Funeral Home, which is 14th and Lakeshore. And absolutely, Cliff Lumsden, when he passed away, was buried at Ridley Funeral Home.
Oh wow!
Well, you don't bury there. Your funeral's there. They don't actually bury you at the funeral home, but you know what I mean. I think that's a little fun tie in there.
It is. I'm very happy to say I did get to meet Marilyn Bell back in 2004. I think was the anniversary of her.
Yes,
swim.
It was 2004.
So she came to the CNE, and I was working there making a heritage exhibit basically for the CNE, and I was a curator that year, just talking all about the history of the CNE. We did some nice big blow up pictures of her and Gus and all of her everything that happened. And so she was invited there, and then one day I was there at the exhibit. I was there every day for the exhibit at CNE, and this lady shows up and she goes, "Oh, hi, I'm Marilyn Bell." I went, "Oh my God, I never thought I'd..."
And you went, "Yeah, and I'm Mickey Mouse."
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. I had no idea she was there. So
a lot of people are surprised to find out she's still with us.
Yes, she is. She's in New York still. Her, I do see from time to time updates from her daughter who goes swimming with her every once in a while, and she's in a retirement home. But and now her name is Marilyn Bell Delasco. And but yeah, her daughter's very nice. I've talked to her on social media from time to time, and I know I even said to you it might be possible to get her to chat with you one day, but I don't know if that's going to work out or not. We'll see.
You never know, right? Yeah. You never know what the future holds.
It'll probably have to be a remote, though.
Well, I would do that for the daughter of Marilyn Bell. Okay.
Yeah.
1954, because you were talking about the anniversary being 2004. So
Yes.
50 years prior, 1954, when the Sunnyside amusement, I guess just before it was demolished. So it's like the end of its era, if you will.
Very close, yeah.
Marilyn Bell, at 16 years young, she's a marathon swimmer. She's coached by Gus Ryder. She becomes the first swimmer to swim across Lake Ontario. She was the first. And the conclusion of the swim was at the foot of Ronces. And at least 300,000 of us, no, I wasn't there. Okay, I was there in spirit. But at least 300,000 people greeted her when she completed this swim across Lake Ontario. That's how big a deal this was.
Yeah, and she originally wasn't seen as being the person who was going to even win it. It was another person who entered that didn't, I guess, make it.
No, there were two others, I think.
there was
I
two.
think this swim challenge, which was like a CNE promotion, I
Yes.
think there were three
Okay.
that made this attempt. Only one finished, and that is Marilyn Bell, and they named the park after her.
Amazing. Yeah, I know that there was a bit of controversy, even if she had won it at the beginning, but because the people at the CNE were a little not sure if she, because she landed a bit further this way than close to the CNE. So, but yeah, it eventually came around, and she's the official winner.
She's the winner here.
Yes.
Okay, so we lose our amusement park. What was do you know what the reaction was like at the time? Like I know what it's like now when they decided to build a private spa on Lake Ontario. I mean, Lake Ontario, on Ontario Place.
I think there was, there's going to be people with a lot of memories there that basically will miss the place, and there's still even people talking about it today, missing it, and having great memories. But
Well, I miss it. I wasn't even there.
same here. It's a bittersweet history, and I think I first found out about Sunnyside and sort of fell in love with it, and also sadness with it, because I'd see these articles by Mike Filey, who was very much into the history of this. And
I'm glad you mentioned him.
As a kid, I'd see this, and he sort of would always call it the poor man's Riviera, and it just was fascinating to me because. And then I talked to my grandparents, and it was another point where I could talk to them about, because they wouldn't mention it. I'd bring it up, and they go, "Oh yeah, I remember that." And so yeah, having that knowledge even gave me a little bit more to talk about with my grandparents.
Checking in on the live stream.
Yeah.
Wardo, he was wondering, I think you actually touched on this earlier, but he was wondering if the popularity of Sunnyside Amusement Park led to the plan to build the Palace Pier a few years later.
I definitely do think, yeah, that really, that whole waterfront area, they were kind of trying to, they had this idea that it almost like they were going to build a new sort of boardwalk empire, like a Coney Island type of a place here. Sure. And then they quickly realized, like, no, this is Canada. It might not be quite the same, but just this vision of it and how it looked was great. And the Palace Pier, they had originally projected to go a lot further out into the lake, like the piers in Britain did for a long time. But eventually, that plan even got cut back as well, and it became it became more of a big hall, I guess, and it was partially on the waterfront, but not too much. There's still remnants of it today. I'm sure you biked by that before. There's a little bit of a memorial there with some photos of it, and one of the pillars is still there of that Palace Pier.
Interesting. And you did, of course, in great detail, we discussed the ship burnings. I'm going to go back in time and see these ship burnings. But I also read a little bit about tightrope walkers. Do you know anything about this? Is this just another, like, come and see this person who's going to walk a tightrope?
Yeah, they had everything there. Really, anything that they could attract people to come down, they would do. So there would be tightrope walkers. They probably had people falling from planes. I think one of the things, one of the boats that they burned, they actually had partially torpedoed by a plane flying by. So anything they could do to really get some buzz, they would do it.
And I know we talked a lot about the live music you could see, but it's not just like at the Palais Royal, because there were some big outdoor concerts.
Oh yeah, there was quite a few. Like, there were a lot of the restaurants there would have house bands, and then once those got bigger, a lot of them would have live outdoor concerts, and those were immensely popular as well. A few things I haven't mentioned as well. Now that it's reminding me. There was a baseball field there as well A lot of early girls softball games were played there. What else?
Not to be confused with the Island baseball diamond where Babe Ruth hit his first professional home run for the Providence Grays against the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah. So the Hanlan's Point had an amusement park as well, where that baseball diamond was, and it was sort of a predecessor basically to Sunnyside. The people who went to Sunnyside, their parents would have gone to that one on the island, and that was their main dig.
If you speaking of digging, if you want to join me, I want to find that ball. You think it's still it's got to have disintegrated by now, right? The Babe Ruth ball.
You know, you never know if it was treated with some kind of a leather. It depends
know.
on how the ball was made. You never know, because they found stuff on the bottom of the ocean floor with the Titanic that you never thought would survive. Like Toronto Railway Company tickets survived on the floor of the ocean inside of a leather wallet. That Henry Puchin? He was one of the men that was basically put on one of the lifeboats to make sure it would, be safe. And as he was going from the Titanic into this lifeboat, his wallet fell out of his pocket, floated down to the ocean floor, and then later the Titanic came down to it, and then they found it in the 80s. And
see, I get chills when I hear stories about finding, the Titanic and finding the wreckage there.
Oh, same.
And speaking of chills, this is not a fun fact at all. This is a devastating, tragic fact. But because I just did this Toronto Island tour on Friday, and I'm full of mind blows and fun facts. Ward's Island is named, and Wardo's on the live stream. I don't know if there's any relation. Maybe Dwayne Ward as well. Shout out to all the Wards I know. But Turner Ward, there was another Blue Jay named Ward. But the ward that Ward's Island is named for, the story there is he was sailing with, I can't remember if it was his 4 sisters or his 5 sisters. But either way, terrible, tragic. They got caught up in a storm on Lake Ontario, and all of his sisters passed away in that.
My God.
And he basically committed his life to rescuing people from drowning.
Oh, wow.
And
That's
apparently
incredible.
he did save many, 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 many lives, but this became his obsession in life's mission because he was manning this boat, and through no fault of his own, Mother Nature can be awfully cruel at times. He lost all of his sisters in this terrible boating accident.
Yeah, that's just horrifying. I've heard about that tale before. Just
not a fun fact, okay?
Heartbreaking.
That's a tragic fact that I'm sharing with you here. But I did mention Babe Ruth and the Providence Grays and his home run against the Toronto Maple Leafs. And on this past Saturday night, I went to Christie Pitts to see the Leafs play. And Babe Ruth wasn't there, but Rob Butler was there. Okay, I'll take hello to Rob Butler. We actually had a good chat. There's some controversy in the Leafs land because the general manager of the Leafs quit because he says Ayami Sato is merely like a PR stunt, and that if Ayami Sato were a man, she would have been cut a long time ago.
Wow.
And essentially, in protest of sorts, that this general manager couldn't put the best team on the field because the owner, Keith Stein, says that Ayami Sato is here for the entire season, regardless of record, that this general manager quit. And this is the big buzz at the ballpark. I had a long chat with Rob Butler about it. I was texting Keith Stein about it. It's not a manufactured controversy. Like this happened. It was in the Toronto Star. And it is interesting discussion point because as we're talking about ships burning and tightrope walkers and swimming the Lake Ontario, these are all kind of, I won't call them stunts, but they're all done to capture your attention and to get your interest.
Yes.
And I'm going to Sunnyside. They're burning a boat. What are you doing tonight? They're going to burn a boat at Sunnyside. I'm there. He's like, I'll meet you there. Okay. Like the fact is the first woman to pitch professional ball in Canada is Ayami Sato. I said hello to her on Saturday night.
No.
She's lovely. Her ERA right now is nothing to write. You wouldn't write home to Japan about this ERA. It is, I can't remember if it's like 11 or 12, but it's not an ERA that you'd be particularly proud of. But I have, on opening day, which we had a TMLX event, I watched her pitch to the first 6 batters, 6 up, 6 down. She looked great. The story is inspiring AF, Jeremy. So it's an inspiring story. It's a groundbreaking first. The next shoe to drop, I speculate may have to do with Ayami playing in the new women's baseball league that is starting up next summer. Like, I feel like there's a bigger picture at play. I trust the owner, who has done a number of things, even upgrading that sound system at Christie Pitts. He's poured a lot of money into this team. He sponsors this program, so there's some bias at play.
For sure.
But he's done a lot of things to make it interesting and a great experience. And I live and breathe it. I was there Saturday night. I'm going to be there next Saturday night.
Nice.
And this whole idea that if Ayami Sato were a man, she would have been cut, tells me that general manager, who I don't know, he seemed kind of surly when I passed him. I don't pass judgments, but we never had a conversation. I know he pitched for the Red Sox. There's your fun fact.
Okay.
And he would often enter games as a reliever, like a plain general manager, which you don't hear about in the majors. Okay, that would be something else here. But I don't think he gets it. I don't think he gets what it's like to own a pro team, even a semi-pro team, in Toronto with these Rogers-owned giants consuming all the oxygen.
Oh, yeah. It's hard to
And
compete.
it's tough enough when the Jays suck. Try getting attention and getting a crowd out to enjoy a Leafs lager and a hot dog. Try to gain interest. And again, I'm going to be there Saturday because it's no ticket required. I'm going to have some pizza. I'm going to have some beer. I'm going to have a great time because it's always entertaining. But imagine cutting through that noise and getting attention in the city when the Jays are in first place.
Yeah.
I know, I'm going on a rant here, J-Ho. We're getting back, but we mentioned the home run on the island, and it all came together. But you've got a copy. But if you have anyone you know and love who would love a copy, you can have another copy because it's a great book on the history of Toronto Maple Leafs baseball.
I agree. The stats in there alone is a great reference to have.
There's a guy on the team now named Jordan. You know, what's the name of that character from, what's that show with Claire Danes? It lasted one season.
My So-Called Life?
My So-Called Life, yes. What was the character's name? Was it Jordan Catalano?
Oh, my God.
Do you know who I'm talking about?
I don't.
Okay.
No, I don't remember, no.
Well, then you didn't pay attention. He was the Dreamboat. Okay, I remember him covering like a song, 2024, a Ramones song, Hours to Go. Maybe I had a crush on Jordan. Okay, I'm coming out as the crushing on Jordan Catalano. I'm getting the last name wrong, but there's a ball player on the Leafs named Jordan Castellano or something like that. And he recently hit his 100th IBL homer, and they put a big picture of him up in center field. 100 homers in the IBL is a significant milestone.
Incredible. Wow.
And even Rob Butler, I think, who didn't play as long as Jordan did in the IBL, but I think he capped out at like 38 homers or something like that. So
Cool.
All right, speaking of cool, let me do this now because then I want to wrap up the Sunnyside, and then I want to have a solemn moment. I want to empty your brain if you have. I'm not wrapping you up or anything.
There's a couple other little things that come to mind when I think about it. Some of the first beauty contests happened there as well. You'd have like a full line of women, and they were all trying to show poise and their new suits and all that kind of stuff, and they would have that kind of a beauty contest happening there as well.
Not to be confused with what would happen on the Toronto Island, the Chin Bikini.
Oh yes,
contest.
yes, good old Johnny Lombardi out there with Chin, yeah.
Olympic Park, I believe that was. Please continue.
And we also have to mention, like, there was a lot of good things about the park back then, but there's, with anything historical, there's always a tinge of not so great. I do love the history, but I also like to know that people, I like to have the vintage style, but not all the vintage values. It's not really the greatest when you think about it. Like some of these clubs, like the Palais Royal at one point in time, and it was with a lot of clubs in Toronto, there was kind of an unwritten rule. There wouldn't be signs about it, but you could have black performers performing on the stage, but to have a black person dancing on the floor, it's big controversy.
In Toronto.
This
is disappointing, J-Ho.
And this actually created a fairly strong civil rights movement in Toronto based on protests about the Palais Royal having these problems in the 1950s, where the, guests that were, a black man dancing with a white woman were asked to leave. And from that, a lot of the civil rights that we have, laws that we have today, sort of stemmed from that. You think a place like Toronto that was very progressive, even, as far as slavery goes, and the history of even Simcoe being basically, in favor of abolition, being an abolitionist. it's just strange to hear that even in the 1950s, there's this attitude going around at certain places. So that's a bit of a tinge on the sunny of the sunny
I'm
side.
glad you brought it up, right? Because as you might have heard in the 90-minute Hulk Hogan retrospective with Stu Stone, like we're
Yes.
doing good, bad, and ugly on this show, and that is some ugly history that we should be acknowledging.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think in Canada we have a tendency to think we're all about the Underground Railroad and abolishing slavery, and I think it's important to note that there still is, but there was some absolutely some blatant racism going on at this time that we're glorifying right now.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a shameful part of the history that I really hope people learn from and don't do again. But we're seeing time and time again things creeping back, and I just keep hoping that cooler heads prevail and people stop doing this sort of thing.
So when you've drained from that big brain of yours everything, and that doesn't mean like you're going to have a moment here where you can give me everything that you wanted to talk about, because
sure.
I love learning from you. We are going to have a moment where we talk about an event happening August 9th and 10th that you're a part of, and then I really hope we'll spend some time remembering somebody. I don't think there'll be a lot of name recognition with this person, but I do want to talk about somebody we lost tragically who was going to be involved at your Viva La Sunnyside event that we'll talk about soon. And I think we're going to pay him proper tribute here, because when I learned about this individual, two things struck me. One is I had no idea what he's been doing for the past 50 years. This is incredible. And how terrible this loss is for all of us. And I know you knew him personally. So we're going to spend some time with that. I do want to welcome a new sponsor, Blue Sky Agency. This gentleman's name is Doug Mills. Doug Mills is a listener of Toronto Mic'd. He's a supporter. He stepped up to help fuel the real talk. Blue Sky Agency has forged partnerships with these established office furniture brands like Silent and Green Furniture Concept and Rouliard. And I know because my wife keeps me abreast that what's going on with the back to office rules a lot of companies are implementing. And I know her office is like, we want you here 4 days a week starting like September. So a lot of this work from home COVID activity is slowly but surely being pulled back. And this is the time to talk to Doug. So if any listeners are looking for dynamic and creative work environments, Doug at blueskyagency.ca, write him now, let him know you're an FOTM and start the conversation. Doug's a good guy, and they're doing great work at Blue Sky Agency. Do you have an office to work at, or do you work your home office?
I work from home off of an old typewriter desk, and
But not an old typewriter.
no, I have one of those in there too. It actually it's spring loaded. You lift up this part of the tabletop, and there's a typewriter that pops out of it, but I don't use it. It's more for show.
Who do we know who collects who am I thinking? Is it Tom Hanks?
Yeah, Tom Hanks is a big typewriter collector, and he gifts.
Don't forget Andy Rooney, but shout out to Ridley Funeral Home. He's not with us anymore.
Right on. Yeah, Tom Hanks actually goes around and gifts typewriters to people out of the blue, and just, hey, you're a nice guy. Here's a typewriter, and yeah, it's really different.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple of events I want to tell you about, and then we're going to talk about your event. So we're going to do a few events here, and then we're going to remember a Toronto institution who passed away, and you may not know the name, and you want to stay tuned to learn more about this individual. But
Sure.
Great Lakes has this, it's an annual event now because this is the second year. They're going to do it every year. So I'm now calling this an annual event. It's called Brewed for You Fest, and it's happening on August 30th. And I think it's like $30 for a ticket. It's very reasonable, but you can actually save $5 if you use the code BeerMe. So Google Brewed for You Fest, Great Lakes Brewery, and use that code BeerMe, all one word. And it's live music. There's a great glass you get. There's, of course, complimentary pours of fresh craft beer. And it's not just Great Lakes there. Like, there's other craft breweries that are going to be at Great Lakes in South Etobicoke for this event. And it's 4 hours, and there's 2 sessions. Like, the first session is family friendly. Like, bring your kids. I think if you're under 12, it's free. I could bring Jarvis and Morgan, and they're free. So that's the first session. And then there's the second session, 4 hours long, which is 19 plus. And each session, I think the first session has like an 80s cover band and hear all the great 80s tunes. The second session has the 90s, but it's a really cool festival. I was listening to the guys talk about it the other day. So it's called Brewed for You Fest, and it's happening August 30th at Great Lakes Brewery. I wanted to shout them out, and I want to shout out the Habari Africa Festival. This is happening at Harborfront. It is a free event. It's all ages. It's a fantastic weekend of rich art, tastes, and sounds from the African continent. The Habari Africa Festival. Now, that's happening August 8th to the 10th. And there's another event you're going to tell us about that's happening August 9th and 10th. And then we're going to remember somebody we lost this past week. But I must remind everybody, if you have old cables, old devices, old electronics, you don't throw it in the garbage because those chemicals end up in our landfill. You go to recyclemyelectronics.ca. You put in your postal code and find out where to drop it off. Also, because the name flashed on my phone, it's on silent, but I could see I'm getting a call from the Petrucci family, and they own Palma Pasta. And Palma Pasta makes delicious, authentic Italian food. They're in Mississauga and Oakville, but you can go to palmapasta.com. And the next TMLX event is happening at the GLB Brew Pub at Jarvis and Queens Quay. But the one after that, which will be TMLX 21, we're going to do that at Palma's Kitchen. So I don't have the date for you to stick in your calendar yet, but stay tuned. It'll be like late November or early December, and we will do that. So after you've done the Habari Africa Festival at Harborfront celebrating African culture in Toronto, get your butts to Leaside for Viva La Leaside. It's a street festival, a community celebration. Tell me more about what's happening August 9th and 10th at 25 Commercial Road in Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
Right on. Thanks, Mike. It's it's a
that wasn't a free ad, J-Ho.
Well,
pay up, buddy.
Thank you so much. It's a car show. It's a festival. We're having live street performers, people doing live art, just sort of a thing to bring out community and, like you were saying before, have an attraction there to get people out of their houses and just celebrate the neighborhood. We also celebrate the neighborhood's history. I've talked to you before about it used to be the basically the aerodrome for all of Toronto. You had to land there to go.
That was your airport.
That was your airport before
Malton.
The island airport, before Malton and all that stuff. So we celebrate a little bit of that. Across the street from where we have the festival used to be the Durant Car Company. They used to crank out Durant cars. So we're trying to talk about the car culture as well and get old cars out there. We've got some leads actually on some old Durants that we're trying to get into the festival. But one company that we've got involved is I was very, very surprised and happy that the people at Casa Loma said, yeah, we'd love to bring our old cars to your festival. So some of the Casa Loma collections coming there.
Amazing.
That includes some 1910 cars, like the 1910 Maxwell, some old Ford cars. And so it should be an interesting day. This is our second year. Last year was our first year, and we've learned a few things since then, and we're trying to bring some more attractions, including what you were alluding to earlier.
Well, okay, before you get there, because it'll be a somber moment when we discuss this, I see here on the ad piece here, which, by the way, I plan to bike to Leaside for this event.
That was amazing when you came to that event the last time.
I'm going to amaze you again, buddy. I'm here to amaze you again, okay? You can't all be about Jordan Catalano on this program.
I could not believe you were there. Like, you just showed up on your bike, and I went, oh my God, you did
watch me do that again, okay?
And we got a good shot beside a black car. That was my favorite thing.
In the shade, right? Was it in the shade?
No, it was in the shade.
Because it looks better in the shade.
I know.
Everybody knows this. Okay. I see on this ad, the Distinguished Gentleman's Drive, it says.
Yeah, we've done some fundraising through them before. We've actually done drives with old cars, and we have gone out to the east part, like around Kingston area, driving these old cars and raising money along the way. And
but I recognize this photo from TMLX events.
Oh.
I know this person I'm looking at here.
Oh yeah,
that's Joe Louis.
That does look like Joe Louis. I've seen Joe Louis. Yep.
You got Joe Louis promoting your goods over there.
Oh man!
By the way, I want to thank again. We're gonna remember somebody here in a moment, and we're gonna tip our Sunnyside Session IPA in his memory, and we're gonna hear you talk about him. And I learned some wonderful things about him as well. But I do want to shout out some of the people who joined us on the live stream.
Oh, cool.
CJ, I don't even know this name, CJ. So if you have another name, let me know.
You know, I've been promoting this and giving people the live stream address, so hopefully you get some new live streamers.
Yeah,
from
because it's the best kept secret because I don't promote it.
Oh,
have you noticed? There's a little FOTM group on WhatsApp, and I usually tell them we're going live. I actually forget to tell the world. So,
well, I did ask you before I did it. I was afraid that
the
maybe
more
it was...
the merrier. Look, watch us bake the cake, okay? Not make the sausage.
Yep.
Nobody wants to see that. Okay, WBN 1000, CJ, Moose Grumpy.
Oh, hi, Moose.
Leslieville. I was at this.
Leslie?
I mentioned this. Leslie's been on the show a couple of Father's Days ago.
Yeah.
I mentioned to you I went to this Rio Statics airing of their new album at the Paradise Theater. Mm-hmm. And I'm there with Tyler Campbell, the VP of Sales,
cool guy.
FOTM co-host.
Good guy.
And he tells me, we're chatting, and he goes, oh, I've been booked as a guest on another podcast. And I said, really, VP? I'm like, what is this
You're getting ready
podcast you're going to be
cut
on?
All ties to Tyler?
Well, no, I want him to get more exposure to promote FOTM Cast, of course.
Oh,
And he
nice,
goes,
nice.
oh, I'm on Leslie's podcast. Leslie has a podcast because, she bakes. She bakes the cookies for TMLX events. And
delicious cookies.
I've heard they're great. I only heard, though. I couldn't tell for myself. But I got a birthday
I missed
cake.
out on the last one, too.
Did you? Okay, I feel better now. But Leslie, who did offer to bake me cookies for camping, and I said, no, Leslie, I just like to complain about it on the podcast. It's fun. But she's going to talk to Tyler, and I don't know if it's recorded yet because I talked to Tyler yesterday, and he says it's coming soon. Maybe it's happening. Maybe right now they're recording. Oh. But although Leslie's on the live stream. Okay, so yes. So I've been witness to this. In Mimico, I was invited to the VP's backyard. He's got a pizza oven back there, and he made me and my family pizza.
Oh, very nice.
Delicious. I mean, next to Palma Pasta, this is the best pizza I've ever had. And he's going to talk pizza with Leslie, and I'm going to tune in, and on the next FOTM cast, I'm going to talk about it. It's recording Friday afternoon.
Oh, cool.
Confirmed on the live stream. So
I'll do my best to listen.
You got to listen. So Canada Kev is on the live stream. Always a pleasure.
I got to talk about Canada Kev a little bit.
Okay, well, let me name two more names, and then you tell me about Canada Kev.
Okay. Hi, Kev.
Canada Kev's buddy, the aforementioned Wardo, was on the live stream. Andrew Ward, of course.
Andrew Ward.
And Andy Pandy, who's coincidentally, her name, I know her as Andy Pandy, but Canada Kev has told me Andrew Ward used to go by the name Andy Pandy. So there were actually multiple Andy Pandys on the live stream at live.torontomike.com. What did you want to say about the TMU legend that is Canada Kev?
I got to spend a few hours with Canada Kev the other day.
You lucky bastard.
Because he just out of the blue wrote me one day like, hey, I got this old phonograph. Do you want it? It's free. And I said, sure, I'll try to give it a good home. I don't have room right now at all, but I'll definitely find it a good room. And then he told me he saved it from a house, and he was saying it was on King Street West. And I went, oh, that's right above Sunnyside, where I'm going to be talking about with Mike. And he goes, oh yeah. And he told me the house, and it's patented, has patented parts from 1917. So this thing had been sitting in the house right through the whole era of Sunnyside, just overlooking this house, overlooking Sunnyside. So I said, wow, that's kind of timely. And it doesn't work, but I do know a lot of people from the Canadian Antique Phonograph Society. I'm going to see if they can help me and find some parts for this motor and get it running again and play some tunes that they played at Sunnyside back in the day. So that was really cool. Thank you, Kev. And yeah, had a great day chatting with him.
See, this is what I like about the TMU. So I only know Canada Kev because he listened to Toronto Mike, and then he came out to a TMLX event.
Same.
Yeah, and this is like, I know one day I said, and he's so thoughtful because one day on the podcast I said, oh, I think I'd like to start recording some of my rides, like with like a GoPro type thing. And he gave me, and I have, in fact, note to self, I have to get in on this and get it working because I actually want to do this for certain rides. But he gave me an old like GoPro-like camera system that he wasn't using anymore. He just gave it to me. My youngest, my 9-year-old, who's obsessed with The Simpsons, she's got this, not a bunk bed, but it's a loft bed, so she's up higher.
Oh, yeah.
And there's like a chest. It's pretty cool. And she has a giant Duff beer, a stuffed Duff beer that was gifted to her by Canada Kev.
That's so cool.
Like, this is the kind of, anyways, and then I'm thinking about like Leslie baking the cake for my birthday at TM. Like, I didn't compensate. I didn't buy the cookies for visitors of TMLX 19.
Yeah.
Leslie donated her time. I don't know how. It's expensive to make cake and cookies now. I'm sure everything's. I can barely afford to drink coffee every morning.
You've just attracted a really great group of really cool people.
But enough about Moose Grumpy.
but Moose Grumpy as well.
No, of course.
Sorry.
No, we love Moose Grumpy. There's a Toast Stuffy right here.
Oh, yeah?
The official mascot of Toast, gifted by Moose Grumpy.
Oh, that's cool.
Like sits in the studio, and I look
Love
at
it.
it, and I'm like, oh, what a sweetheart that Moose Grumpy is here.
Well,
All right, let's get serious for a moment. You ready? Or is there
Next time I come by, I'll have to gift you something too. I've been working on something for you. It's a little bit different than this kind of stuff, but it's a research project.
Yeah, my attention at gift. Okay, so before we pay tribute to Ernie, is to put a bow on the Sunnyside experience. Okay.
Yeah, just that I see the ghost of Sunnyside as I go by there every time, and I long for it, even though I never experienced it. And a lot of people have thought, I've been weird for that, but no, it's just a place. If I could time travel, I would really just love to go there and experience a day at the place. And I just hope that the memories are kept and people think about it from time to time, because it's just a park now, and there's not really a lot there to remember that sort of glorious time in its heyday, which really wasn't a heyday for everyone, but it in Toronto's history, when I see those photos, I'm all about the visuals. When I see those photos of the old way things were there, it just makes me want to, it just fuels that desire to check it out and dress up like I do and go to places like that in the past.
So my advice would be to the Martin Goodman Trail runners and are people still rollerblading? That dates me a bit, I guess. The scooters and of course the cyclists like myself. But you see of course you go by the pool, and many people use that pool every day.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But the pavilion, right? Like you see this pavilion, and you're like, oh, that's cool. That's over 100 years old. I remember taking a photo of it on its 100th birthday. But I think we need to remember to go to the south side, like get south of the pavilion, because this is something I only appreciated when I kayaked by it on Lake Ontario. Mm-hmm. But, the beach is still there, and they test that beach every day for E. coli and everything, and they put up the appropriate flag or whatever to tell you if it's clean or not. Yeah. But the beach... There's a place to eat. There's a place to drink. Like there still is waterfront activities happening on the south side of the pavilion. And I think if you just see it from the Martin Goodman Trail, you would think it's just like a nice looking pavilion and then the swimming pool. And then you'd bike along to Roncy's where you'd see the Palais Royal.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place to go. Even though the amusement park's not there, it's definitely a beautiful place to go and see. It's been in quite a few movies as well, music videos on those buildings.
Wait, you're only getting to this at the end here?
Oh, I'm sorry, but
this should have been the lead.
That would be more for the other episodes we do about videos.
Okay, but can you name check?
Let me see. There was I know Bomb Girls, that TV show that was out, filmed at the Palais Royal a lot. The pavilion though, I've seen it in so many movies and TV shows. But there was that Superman movie with Ben Affleck where he plays George Reeves? Oh, I forget the name of that one. But he was in that, or that it was in that.
Yeah, that's the original Superman, George Reeves.
Yes.
Before because it was George Reeve, and then, George Reeves with an S, and then Christopher Reeve, singular.
Yes.
Which is a weird coincidence unto itself. But okay. So you'll see these. And
there's also some 80s bands that there's one that actually is on
did
the
the
cover.
Spoons ever do a video at the pavilion?
I don't think the Spoons did, but there's another band that did. I can't think of their name right now. And
was it Martha and the Muffins? Did they do any Echo Beach content there?
I don't think so.
I will say Mark Gain told me in this basement. So if you want to hear the definitive conversation with Mark Gain and Martha Johnson from Martha and the Muffins, they were in the basement several years ago now. Martha sadly unable to, she's got some mobility issues, but this happened when she was able to get down here. We had an amazing chat. I'm wearing their t-shirt now in their honor, and I urge people to listen. But if you talk to Mark Gain about when he was inspired to write Echo Beach, which is far away in time, right? Mm-hmm. The name of this park is Kazimierz Zowski Park.
Oh,
and that's right there where we're talking about today.
Yes.
Kazimierz Zowski. I don't think he's got any relation to Peter Zowski.
You never know.
But you never know. That's true.
I think they actually might be related.
Well, there's a question about Cliff Lumsden. Is he related to Jesse Lumsden? And there's in his father, Mr. Lumsden, whose name will come to me in a minute, who was like in politics or whatever. But
if Burlington Rob was on the live stream, he'd know right away.
Okay, so I won't put you on you're on the hot seat, and now I want to. If it's like, I just want to say, firstly, sorry for your loss, and sorry to all who knew and loved Ernie Lee. Please tell us more about Ernie Lee.
He was a powerhouse in the ballooning community in Ontario, and
ballooning.
Yeah,
like hot air balloons.
Hot air balloons. He was a master at it. That was his main gig, I guess, over the years. And he flew for everybody from Labatt's to Pizza, Remax, the Remax balloons that you'd probably, I know you know from the 80s.
Can I chime in? Because I remember in the 80s.
They used to be everywhere.
Above the clouds was like the tagline.
Yeah. And
I remember distinctly this Remax balloon. And you're telling me Ernie Lee would be piloting that hot air balloon?
Yeah, for the most part, him or his partner would be up in that balloon piloting it around Ontario and Toronto. And what else? Oh, even in the recent years, well, not too recent, but like 10 years ago, the Mr. Peanut balloon that was flying around here that caused a craze. He was the guy. I took a picture of it from my balcony and I showed him it when I met him and asked him, "Oh, is this you?" And that was me that day.
Is it fair to say that pretty much any hot air balloon you spotted in Toronto over the past 50 years was likely piloted by Ernie Lee?
Yeah, Ernie Lee or someone from his company, not just Hot Air or no, something.
Yeah, somebody from his company.
Yeah, somebody would, but usually it was him. It would turn out it was actually him.
50 years of piloting hot air balloons that you would know. And is it right that you were going to do something with hot air balloons and Ernie Lee at this Viva La Lee side, which is happening August 9th and 10th?
One of the attractions we were really happy to get this year was to have a balloon that people could go and take rides on, and Ernie was going to be the pilot for it. Unfortunately, he passed away this past weekend. I'm not exactly sure which day, but the family's given us approval to talk about it. And but I'd only really known Ernie for a day. I dressed up in my old suit to kind of promote the event going on because we do a lot of stuff about history, and he just loved it. And he said, I know you guys don't have a lot of money, and he cut us a deal and was just really supportive and really nice. And I'd only really known him a day, but just felt like I knew him for a very long time. He was a really cool guy.
Well, I'm again, sorry for your loss. Sorry. My condolences to Ernie Lee's family, his friends, his loved ones. I learned about Ernie when you broke this news to me. Mm-hmm. And then very quickly realized that this is an example of somebody in this city, like part of the city's character, its makeup, that Remax balloon or the Mr. Peanut balloon and these various balloons. Was there a beer balloon
he had Labatt's.
Labatt's.
Yeah, I found a photo recently of it actually at the legislature. They blew it up on the front lawn of the legislature and had it flying around there, which I don't think they would allow today, but...
Well, who knows? Because Doug Ford's a big fan of beer.
Yeah, a buck of beer.
He doesn't actually drink it, though.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
He just likes to, do things with it.
Likes to numb other people's senses, so...
Well, you can get your beer in the Rabbas now, right? So
there's
a lot changing in this city. But that's a terrible loss for the city. I don't know if there's an heir apparent, but it's just tragic. And it's just, we won't name the cause of death, but it's worth noting it was not a hot air balloon accident.
No.
I think some people think a hot air balloon for 50 years passes away. I think people's first thoughts are a hot air balloon accident. But Ernie Lee did not die.
No.
If anything related to hot air balloons.
No, not whatsoever. He was a very incredible pilot, very safe, and trained a lot of other people how to do the craft and do it properly. He even flew a couple balloons that other people that fly balloons would find too dangerous, where he had this massive dinosaur balloon that had legs hanging down, and every once in a while they'd blow towards where you're sitting, so he had to make sure everything was safe and didn't set the balloon on fire, and never had a problem, never had any errors. And it's so sad that just a week away from getting him to be there with us that we couldn't have Ernie there. But this year's festival is dedicated in the memory of Ernie Lee and all he brought to Toronto, and all of our memories as kids, just seeing these balloons and thinking about the wonder of flight.
Rest well, Ernie Lee. I'm glad that you're able to tell us about Ernie. I think Ernie Lee is the type of guy where in 2025, you might learn about his passing on Toronto Mike, or if you follow the right, Toronto historians like Jeremy Hopkin, and you're going to tell us in a minute how to follow you. But his passing could happen, and you'd be unaware. It's we need to remember these characters and these key figures in our city's history.
I'm just so glad I did get to meet him before he did pass away. I'm glad I got to know who he was, and I hope everybody here looks into a little bit of his history or remembers him in some kind of way of seeing what he did over the city over the years.
Well, I'm glad I got to know who you are, Jeremy Hopkin, and that you get to visit me. I get to be visited by you every quarter. Another great episode. I learned a lot about this part of the city that today we know there's a swimming pool and there's a little bit of activity at the pavilion. And of course, I still see people dressed up and attending some kind of live music at the Palais Royal. Like there's still I bike by it at nights and there's a lot of activity still happening there. But otherwise, we missed out on the amusement park and all these happenings. What a cool time in the city, and thanks for reminding us of it.
It was a cool, colorful time, and thank you so much for letting me talk about it a little bit, and also just pay a little tribute to Ernie as well.
Absolutely. And on the live stream, Moose Grumpy thinks maybe one of the videos that showed this part of Toronto was by the first band I ever saw live, an FOTM band. Shout out to Chris Tate. Chalk Circle.
That's it, Chalk Circle. They actually have on the cover of that album, they have the photos taken all around that.
Produced by Chris Wardman, by the way, also an FOTM.
Right.
He was in Blue Peter.
Oh, very cool.
Yes, it's all coming full circle. Okay, J-Ho, you hit another home run, just like Babe Ruth back in 1914 with the Providence Grays.
I'm glad I only had the one major mental block there, but I should have.
Only one? Rookie.
I had a couple.
Do you know how many mental blocks I'm good for each episode? My goodness here. We got to talk about a topic for the next quarter. Do you have one in mind, or do you want to talk offline about it?
I don't have one in mind, but the FOTMs, some of them have made suggestions, so I'm going to try to pick one from them. One suggestion I had was to talk about the mansions of Toronto that have been historically here and ones that are still
them down,
kicking around, and how we can burn them down.
Well, we'll discuss. Have we done a Casa Loma episode yet?
No, we haven't done a Casa Loma.
There's an idea
episode
there too.
That might be a cool idea.
That one's for Midtown Gord. He worked there.
Oh, yes. Well, he could probably do an episode on that all by himself.
All right, to be discussed.
Okay, but yeah, Casa Loma would be great.
And that brings us to the end of our 1,741st show. Go to TorontoMike.com for all your Toronto Mike needs. Speaking of castles, that's the Friendly Giant theme. He had a castle.
Oh, look up.
That's the other castle.
Way up.
Much love to all who made this possible. Great Lakes Brewery. I enjoyed my Sunnyside.
I did too. It was great. Very
Palma
refreshing.
pasta. Refreshing. What goes good with that? Good Palma pasta.
Oh, for sure.
Toronto's Waterfront BIA. Toronto Maple Leafs Baseball. I'll be there Saturday night. RecycleMyElectronics.ca. Blue Sky Agency, welcome to the family, Blue Sky. And Ridley Funeral Home. Shout out to Cliff Lumsden. See you all tomorrow when Colin Cripps from Blue Rodeo makes his Toronto Mike debut. Colin Cripps in the basement. See you all then.